good afternoon or good morning. I guess it's good morning mostly for everybody here. We're excited today because we have Winifred with us today, and she's going to be talking about her subject at the retreat, Turmoil to Tranquility, and she will be a speaker at our women's retreat. And I'm really excited she's coming. She's been to several women's retreats. She is not a stranger to Call to Peace Ministries. She is on the board of Call to Peace Ministries, so we are extremely grateful for her and all that she does for Call to Peace. And so I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself and tell a little bit more of her background and what she'll be speaking about at the retreat.
It's great to be here, Lauren. My name is Winifred Ereyi. I am the friend that helps you win. That helps people remember my first name. So I will be speaking about from turmoil to tranquility, my story of redemption. And my background is in engineering. I've done worked in different industries. I've worked in um, telecoms industry, oil and gas. I've worked in education. Right now I'm working in power engineering. I've also done a lot of speaking around the topic of domestic violence, spoken with National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and really spoken in different churches and different communities as a survivor of domestic violence. So it's great to be here.
Well, thank you. It's great to have you here. Can you tell me about what you'll be speaking on at the retreat, Turmoil to Tranquility? Can you talk to me more about that? What is that?
Yeah, I've actually also forgot to say that I'm on the board. I know Lauren had said that, but I really wanted to give you a bit of context about being on the board. I met Joy, the founder, Joy Brown Forrest, the founder of Call to Peace Ministries, a while back, I think right at the beginning of Call to Peace Ministries. And I'd read her book. We had met at some of the speaking engagements, and she had shared her book, and I bought the book and the workbook. And I think that was just about the time she was about to launch the ministry formally. And so Joy and I go a long way. I call ourselves soul sisters, although we have different from different races, but we are soul sisters because our focus is to strengthen the women who have gone through the trauma of domestic violence, and that's what my topic is going to be about. It's really about looking forward, because yes, domestic violence is an event that has happened in your life, but it's just an experience. It doesn't have to become your identity. So how do we close that chapter, and how do we move forward and not get stuck in the pits? One of the things that God promises us, that he pulls us out of the miry clay. And so really looking at my own journey of coming out of the miry clay, moving forward and rebuilding my life. And that is my hope for each person that listens to me, that they can move forward past the negative experience of domestic violence. And so that's what turmoil, from turmoil to tranquility, is all about. Domestic violence creates chaos and confusion, creates turmoil. It affects you emotionally, it affects you physically, it affects you relationally, it affects you financially, it affects your self image, affects every area of your life. You begin to see yourself through the eyes of your abuser rather than through God's eyes. So there is a journey, there's a process. We call it renewal of the mind in order for transformation to occur. But there's a process to go from where you have been a victim to being a survivor. But we don't want you to stop at being a survivor. We want you to become a thriver. And then we don't want you to stop at being a thriver. We want you to become an inspirer. We want you to come into different spaces and places and share your story from a place of power, so that you can really help other women who have gone through such a traumatic experience. Hope is an image, so really being the image, the hope bearer is our focus in Call to Peace Ministries. Being on the board is that you will recover, rebuild your life, and go out into the world and strengthen women and build communities. So that's what Turmoil to Tranquility will be about.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And I'm sorry I'm echoing a little bit here, so I'm going to try to keep it brief. But I'm really excited to hear about that. And I love what you shared about how that affects every area of our life and how do we close this area of our life. And if you're listening to this and you're like, you're echoing too much, please let me know in the comments. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll let we'll still talk over. But it is very hard to come to a place of realizing how do you close this chapter. And so I want to talk a little bit more about that. What does that look like for you? Like, can you, without giving away your topic, what will you be helping women understand to be able to close their chapters and move forward? Because
Yeah.
that is something to close, move.
Yeah, I know you're echoing, so I will, so I will, so I will just pick the question and unpack it. So really, the goal will be for women to reframe their story rather than them looking at their story from a victim that this happened to me. Oh, how could this happen to you? Things happen to the good and bad. This is life. It's for them to look at their story through the framework of God's names. I'm looking at his name as Jehovah Nissi. God is my shepherd. And so I will be sharing my story, but looking at it within the context of God's names, how God was my shepherd as I moved one step at a time when it was so dark, and his word was a light, a lamp unto my feet, and how Jehovah Ruhi showed up for me. I'll be sharing about God being Jehovah Shammah. So I don't want to give my whole talk here, but basically, I will be going through 7 of the foundational names of Jesus and looking at each of my story, each chapter of my story through the eyes of the names of Jesus. So that, because as human beings, what we focus on enlarges. Our energy goes in the direction of our focus. So it's so important that you want to change the channel, because the enemy wants you to focus on what happened. The enemy wants you to focus on the abuser. The enemy wants you to focus on all the chaos that has happened, because like I said, domestic violence affects so many areas of your life. But you have a choice. God has given us as human beings a choice. You may not have chosen what has happened to you, but you are going to make a choice to rebuild. You have to make a choice to rebuild, to heal, to move forward. The power is in your hands. So looking at your story and sharing your story from the framework of God's names gives you hope. It strengthens you. And as it strengthens you, guess what? It pushes the darkness away so that you can take a step forward and rebuild. So we'll be looking at my story through these 7 names of Jesus. And I believe that as I share my story through the 7 names of Jesus, you too will put pen to paper and begin to share your story by looking at Jesus rather than looking at your circumstance. Like I said, your energy goes in the direction of your focus. And when you've come out of such a traumatic experience, I mean, your brain, the thoughts you are thinking, your energy, possibly depression has set in, anxiety has set in. You can't even trust yourself. So, really being able to manage your energy and harness your energy by looking at Jesus rather than what has happened, that is really what is going to give you the strength to keep on keeping on. It's very easy to start something. You start a movement, you are so motivated, it's the beginning. Oh, you are excited, you start a project, you are so excited. But when reality sinks in, and things become challenging, when you have left that relationship and you started and you're like, you can rebuild your life, but reality sinks in. Bills need to be paid. You don't have money. You possibly don't have a job. You're not getting on well with family members. You're not getting on well with children. Reality sets in. What will keep you committed? What will keep you committed to keep on moving forward? Because a lot of women who leave relationships, they go back to those relationships. Statistics have shown that it takes 7 times for a woman to completely break free. And why do they go back? Because reality sets in. Life is tough and it can be tough. I lost everything. So, being able to rebuild, getting the job, starting again, being able to create a safe circle of friends. All those are things that you have to rebuild, being able to rebuild, heal your relationship with your children, with your siblings, with with your community. All those are challenges. So reality will set in. But what will keep you focused? What will keep you motivated when reality sets in, when life gets tough? Looking at Jesus, looking at Him in the different ways He manifests Himself, either as Jehovah Nissi, either as Jehovah Shammah, either as Jehovah Sikenu, either as Jehovah Rohi, the different names. I'm telling you that before domestic violence was a reality in my life, I'd gone through a hard time. I'd lost six babies before I had my two children. And through every time I buried a child, I had to go through that process. Unfortunately, I would come home. People would go home with a stroller and a room with a baby. But my room will have a what do you call that? A cot? What do you call cots? That has been so many years now. It will have a cot. It will have the clothes I wanted to dress my baby, but there will be no child. How did I keep focused? We're talking of 8 years of adversity. I looked at Jesus, but I did not just look at Jesus. I looked at Jesus through his names. Those names became so alive to me that today, when you hear me pray, I always pray to Jesus, to God, using his names. Because his names makes him personal, makes him relatable. When I'm talking to Jehovah Shammah, I imagine that he's near me. When I'm talking to Jehovah Rohi, I imagine that he's my shepherd that is leading me. So his names became such a reality. Jehovah Sikenu, being righteous, that no matter what Mabiza had said, I am righteous because of the blood, no matter the accusations of the enemy or the community, because the community will say, what's wrong with her that this happened to her? So there'll be accusing voices of her from everywhere. But looking at my story, my life through the names of God, that gave me strength. It gave me strength to try again to have another baby. And even if that baby passed, it gave me strength until I have my two children. One is 25. He went to Stanford. My daughter is 24. She went to Princeton. They work in Google and in Jane Street. But Jesus made the difference. The Spirit of the Lord made the difference. Scripture says that he will strengthen you with power by his Spirit in your inner man, according to the power that is working you. No power will work in you if you are not looking at Jesus, or if you are not looking at the risen Lord, not the Lord that was on the cross. No, Easter is Easter. He is risen. He is risen. We look at Jesus, who has conquered, who has won the battle, and because he lives, we can win. We are more than conquerors. But it's your choice. You're not going to win if you don't walk. If you don't, the Holy Spirit is your helper. If you don't walk with him, if he instructs you, but you do not obey, but you wouldn't even hear his voice if you are not looking at him. If you are not aware that he is Jehovah, the Jehovah is the Emmanuel. I call him Jehovah Inika, the one that abides in you, is within you, speaking to you, counseling you, helping you, showing you when to say yes, when to say no. So really looking at your life story through the names of Jesus is really my life. It's really the way I live my life. And that is what I'll be encouraging women to do. And so we'll be unpacking different names of Jesus. And I will share how he has shown up in my life after post divorce. But then I will also, because it's going to be an interactive session, I will also invite women to share, how he has shown up as Jehovah Rohi. How has he shown up as your shepherd? How has he shown up as Jehovah Jireh, your provider? How has he shown up as Jehovah Gibon Melkama, the God that fights your battle? How has he shown up as Jehovah Mefoti, the one that delivers you? How has he shown up as Jehovah Nisi, the one that forgives you? So it will really be an interactive session. So I really encourage you that you that if you come to this session, When you come to this session, I'm speaking by faith, you're going to live change. One thing for sure, you're going to know at least 7 names of Jesus, because there's going to be a test at the end of it for you to tell me some of the names I've shared with you. And then I will talk about 6 pillars of my healing practice that I practice every day. I actually shared one of them with Lauren, my daily walks on the beach, just before this meeting. I will talk about a framework I use for my day. Every day has a hashtag, and today is Thankful Thursday. So I invite people in my world, in my conversations, to ask them, what are you thankful for? And it's so easy to focus on what is not going right. So we have to remind ourselves, like yesterday was Winning Wednesday. So, what have you won all week? What has worked well that you want to celebrate with the world? All these things are so vitally important. Why? Because the way you approach your day, the way you function, affects your brain chemicals, your neurochemicals. I'm a certified brain health coach, trauma integrated brain health coach. In order for dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin and endorphin, I call it your dose chemicals, happiness chemicals. In order for them to be at the right level, you have to live a certain way. So having a chat, a framework to live your day actually helps your brain to settle down. It takes you from that place of turmoil to tranquility. So Monday is motivation Monday. On Monday, I'm reading things that will motivate me, that will keep me, passionate about the week so that I can win. Tuesday is Transformation Tuesday. I'm focused on taking action, 3 steps that will transform my week, three steps in the direction of my goals for the week, and that align with my mission and vision. So Transformation Tuesday, I'm taking 3 steps, taking action, having a bias to action. Wednesday, I'm winning Wednesday. I'm celebrating, my wins from the action I've taken, from the things I've done on Monday. So each day has a hashtag. So I don't want to spoil a lot. I don't want to tell you my whole talk. So I really will be talking about 6 pillars of my healing practice. Those hashtag challenges are just a framework for my day in order to keep those neurochemicals balanced, because domestic violence is so traumatic. It affects the way you think, it affects your sleep, it just creates chaos. You just feel like somebody has pulled the rug from under you. But guess what? The Lord is your shepherd. He restores your soul. Jehovah Rohi, that is his name, my shepherd. But your soul will not be restored if you do not have a system that anchors you. And through the system, I will share with you, through my 6 pillars that I will share with you, you will find yourself moving from that place where life is so chaotic to that place where you are in control. You are more than a conqueror through Christ who strengthens you. And life becomes simple, and life becomes sweet. I call it my simply abundant and luxurious life. So I've spoken at length, I think about 20 minutes now, because I know Lauren is echoing. So I kind of have answered questions that she has not asked because I know she's echoing. But Lauren, I'm going to take a pause now and give you a minute to ask me a question.
Yes. Well, oh, I'm not echoing. Thank you, Jesus. I'm so excited hearing all this because my heart's just feeling so back. So ministered to. So I'm so excited for your session. So I encourage everybody to come. I'll put more in the description above about her session at the retreat. But as we're closing out here, we need to give a call to action for you to come to the retreat because our registration closes on Monday. So Winifred, could you close out with telling people to come to the retreat while for some reason I garbled?
Please come to the retreat. I cannot encourage you that if you want the yoke broken and the burden lifted from your shoulder, you have to take action. Information does not bring transformation, action does. So just take that step to come to the retreat. Take that step to sit at the feet of somebody else and learn from them. Just like Mary sat at the feet of Jesus and her life was transformed. So take that step to come and sit at my feet and learn from me. Because I tell you, I'm a picture of an inspirer. So that you can live transformed. You can get some clarity on how to rebuild your life. So come one and come all. Thank you.